Hello, this is Stallone-Obaraemi Samuel. I am going to share with you a story that a friend shared with me. So it's not originally my story, but I feel that you need to learn about this story. You need to get the lessons. And I have titled this story, Fathers Are Mentors. Now, this doesn't mean that mothers are not mentors, but I want to carve this story in a particular way, but the lessons can be applied both ways. And so as you listen to this, I enjoin you to listen carefully and also get your son or daughter to also listen to it too. Now, this recording is about what happened in a typical middle-class household. The son didn't like living in his father's house. This was because his father constantly nagged. You're leaving the room without switching off the fan. The TV is on the room where there is no one. Switch it off. Keep the pen in the stand. It is falling down. Now, the son didn't like his father's nagging him for these minor things, He had to tolerate these things till yesterday, just yesterday. Because he was living in the same house with them. But today, guess what? He has an interview to attend. Now, this young man had an interview, a job interview. As soon as I get the job, according to him, I should leave this town. There won't be any nagging from my father. Where all these were in his mind, his thoughts. He wanted to leave his father's house because he felt his father was nagging. As he was about to leave for the interview, the father advised, "Son, answer the questions put to you without any hesitation. Now, even if you do not know the answer, mention that confidently." Then the father gave him more money than he actually needed to attend the interview. Of course, the father was happy for his son. Now, his son arrived at the interview center. He noticed that there were no security guards at the gate, even though the door was open. And the latch was also protruding, but probably hitting, and it was protruding out, and it was probably hitting the people entering through the door. But guess what he did? He put the latch back properly. He closed the door and he entered the office. On both sides of the pathway, he could see beautiful flower plants, but the gardener had kept the water running in the hose pipe without even, he wasn't anywhere around the pipe, and the water was overflowing on the pathway and messing up everywhere. This young man lifted the hose pipe and placed it near one of the plants and went further. There was no one in the reception area when he got in. However, there was a notice saying that the interview was on the first floor, so he slowly climbed the stairs. The light that was switched on last night was still burning at 10 a.m. in the morning. He remembered his father's admonition. Why are you leaving the room without switching off the light? And then he thought to himself, he could actually still hear his father's voice at that moment. Even though he felt irritated by that thought, he sought the switch and switched off the light. Upstairs in the large hall, he could see many aspirants sitting waiting for their turn. He looked at the number of people and wondered if he had any chance of getting the job. Then he entered the hall with some trepidation and stepped on the welcome mat. Now he noticed again that the mat was placed upside down. He immediately straightened out the mat with some irritation. Guess what? Habits die hard. He's been learning these things from his father, even if he was irritated at what his father was teaching him. He also saw that in a few rows in the front, there were many people waiting for their turns, whereas the back rows were empty. But then there were a number of fans there running over the rows and the seats therein, and there was nobody seated there. Again, he heard his father's voice. Why are the fans running in the room where there is no one? He couldn't hold it. He switched off the fans that were not needed and sat on one of the empty chairs. He could see many men entering into the interview room and immediately leaving from another door. So consequently means there was no way to find out or to guess what were the interview questions or what was it like. So when it was his turn, he went in and stood before the interviewer with some trepidation and concern. Then the officer took the certificates from him, and without looking at them, he simply asked him, when can you start work? Boo, he thought. Is this a trick question being asked in the interview? Or is this a signal that I have been offered a job? He was confused. What are you thinking? Asked the boss. We didn't ask anyone any question. Yeah, by asking a few questions, we won't be able to assess the skills of anyone. So our test was to assess the attitude of the person. We kept certain tests based on the behavior of the candidates, and we observed everyone through the CCTV. No one who came today did anything to set right the latch at the door, the hose pipe, the welcome mat, the uselessly running fans or lights. You were the only one who did that. That's why we've decided to select you for the job, said the boss. Wow. You can feel what probably happened was just running in the young man's mind. He always used to get irritated at his father's discipline and demonstrations. Now he realized that it is only the discipline that he has gotten from his father that has earned him this job. His irritation and anger at his father vanished completely and immediately. He decided that he would bring his father to his workplace and left for home happily. He was really happy. You see, whatever our Father tells us, it's only for our own good. It's aimed at our good based on the best He knows at the time, or He knew at the time. You see, a rock doesn't become a beautiful sculpture if it resists the pain of the chisel chipping it away. For us to become a beautiful sculpture and a human being, we need to accept admonition that chisel out the bad habits and behavior from ourselves. That is what our fathers do when it comes to disciplining us. Now, the mother lifts the child up in her waist to feed her, to cuddle her, or to cuddle him, and to put her or him to sleep. But the father is not like that. He lifts the child up on his shoulders to make the child see the world that he, the father, couldn't see. We can realize the pain the mother undergoes by listening to her, but the father's pain can be realized only when others tell us about it. Our father is our teacher when we are 5 years old. He becomes a terrible villain when we're about 20, and he becomes a guidepost as long as he lives. Mothers can go to their daughters or sons' home when she's old, or when the mother is old, but the father doesn't know how to do that. There is no use in hurting our parents when they are alive and remembering about them when they've passed away. We should treat them well always, especially when they are alive. Now, this is an example of mentorship. Remember that the young man earned the job by applying the things his father taught him. The benefit, the success of a mentorship or a coaching program to a large extent depends upon the coachee's or the mentee's ability to apply the things that the mentor teaches him. And so if you do not apply, you will not get the results. And so if we apply that to the family, after listening to this, share this if possible even with your parents and your children. Our fathers are our mentors. Thank you so much for listening and keep succeeding. Bye for now.